What's up, guys? I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be talking about 3 winners and 3 losers in this NBA draft. The NBA draft was a very interesting one because there wasn't a lot of information coming out before it, and you were really in the dark about who some of the teams were picking. Obviously, you had the usuals of people kind of knowing, like Woj and them knowing what teams that the people were going to go to, but it was still like a very interesting night, and you feel like you had something to watch. And I felt like the Minnesota Timberwolves was going to pick LaMelo, but they ended up not, and LaMelo ended up going third. And there's just a lot of interesting things going on. Some people got drafted a little bit higher. A lot of people slipped, especially some people in like the late first round. So right now I'm just talking about some of the winners and losers of the NBA draft, and I'm also going to touch on my favorite team's draft, the Dallas Mavericks. I'm going to touch on their draft and how I feel like they did in their draft as well. So if you like this type of content, like and subscribe on the video if you haven't already. And let's get right into it. My first winner in the NBA draft is the Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets got a dub in this draft for me because they got the best player in the draft at the 3rd pick, and that's in LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball is a 6'7" point guard that averaged 17 points, 6.8 assists overseas. He had some bad shooting splits, but that's because he was the best player on his team by far, and he took a lot more shots than he would in the NBA, although I do think he'll have free aim with the Charlotte Hornets. But LaMelo Ball is not the only reason I feel like they won this draft, although he is the biggest. They also got Grant Riller and Vernon Carey. Vernon Carey is a good offensive big from Duke, and he just showed very good production at Duke, showing a little bit of versatility, shooting the 3 ball. He's a little bit slow and not very athletic, but he has very good skills, and he's a very skilled big, not very athletic though, and he'll very much struggle in the pick and roll, but that's a very good pick at the end of the first round. And my other pick, the other pick that they had was Grant Riller at the 56th pick. If you know who Grant Riller is, he was getting some noise of being a late first-round pick and an early second-round pick, and they got him with the 56th pick in the NBA draft. So that is a great steal for Grant Riller, especially if they trade away Terry Rozier or Devontae Graham, and he can take that backup point guard spot, and they'll probably slide in somebody else at that shooting guard spot. So he has potential to be a decent backup point guard in this league. So I was just really excited and really excited with what they did with this draft, and it's very surprising, but because the Charlotte Hornets are not known for being the greatest drafters. Now, my first loser of this NBA draft is the Chicago Bulls. Now, I'm not even a Patrick Williams hater and acting like I don't know who Patrick Williams is and act like he's just this bum. But everybody knows that Patrick Williams could have been drafted later, and I know that the Bulls tried to trade down and they couldn't, but it's just really an L that they had to pick that person at that high because they knew they could have drafted him lower. But all things I've heard, he's a great defender. He has a mold and potential to be a decent offensive player, and I think he'll be a good player, but it's just kind of an L that the Chicago Bulls knew they could trade down, and they just couldn't because the other teams kind of had leverage on them because they knew that they wanted to pick Patrick Williams, and the other team was like, I don't want Patrick Williams, so I'm not trading down and wasting other assets. So it's just kind of an L for the Chicago Bulls that they had to pick Patrick Williams at the 4th spot, but hopefully it all pans out for Chicago, and I'm a fan of Patrick Williams because I kind of like his game and his mold, but all in all, it's an L for the Chicago Bulls. My second winner for this NBA draft is the Sacramento Kings. Now, the Sacramento Kings got a player that was the #1 player on the draft board ever since the 6th pick at the 12th pick. That is great value for almost at the end of the lottery. Now, if you just look at it in the front, you think Tyrese Halliburton is just his point guard, this ball-dominant point guard if you didn't watch basketball because he had a high assist number. But really, all in all, he's a very good catch-and-shoot player and would really thrive in a secondary ball-handling role, which he will be in besides De'Aaron Fox. Now, De'Aaron Fox will be the main ball handler, and he'll be the 2 guard. I think that'll work very well for him in his career because I feel like he has a lot of shades of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and I feel if he bulks up, he can be a very good player just like Shai. So I feel like this is a great pick for the Sacramento Kings, especially after the Atlanta Hawks gave Bogdan Bogdanovic big offer sheet that I don't think the Sacramento Kings are gonna match. And also, Buddy Hield has been disgruntled this last season and in the bubble, so they'll probably be looking to trade him. So De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton should be that backcourt for the future. And the Kings had a very good draft just on that. They had other decent draft picks, but this was really big for the Sacramento Kings, a very big W. And now all they need is for Marvin Bagley to show up, and now they have a nice little core and a good direction going ahead for these next couple years. My next loser for this NBA draft is the New Orleans Pelicans. And this is solely on their 13th pick. Their other picks were decent, and I didn't have a problem with it, but this is really solely on their 13th pick and what they did with that. I'm just really confused with this Kyra Lewis Jr. pick because all either they're gonna have one of the worst fits in the league, or they're giving up on Lonzo Ball too early, which is a great point guard that had very good chemistry with their star and franchise cornerstone piece, Zion Williamson. And I just think it's too early in their first year together to just give up on it. And the sole reason why you didn't get to see it more is because your corner piece, not Lonzo, Zion was hurt most of the year. Lonzo showed improvements in 3-point shooting, although he still has big flaws in his game. He showed improvements to space out the floor better for people. He has to get to the line more, I understand that. He has to finish more, I understand that. But he's an unselfish player that already has chemistry with Zion Williamson and is one of the best passers in the league. And I don't understand why you give up on that and kind of reach down for Kyle Lewis Jr. even after you also traded for Eric Bledsoe, and now George Hill is gone. I understand that, but you also traded for Eric Bledsoe. So this is your third pretty good point guard on the depth chart. And I just don't understand why you just go help other positions like a wing or another shooter or something like that to come off the bench instead of Kyra Lewis that is basically plays kind of like Lonzo as a decent playmaker and gets to the rim and stuff like that, and is not a great shooter but a decent shooter. They're not the same build, but they kind of play the same way. I don't think they could play together on the floor. Although Lonzo's a little bit bigger, I feel like Lonzo should always be the point guard on the floor because he's such a great playmaker and decision maker. So I'm really confused with this Kyra Lewis pick at the 13th, and I'd be really sad if they gave up on Lonzo and only the first year of him and Zion playing together. He also has great chemistry with B.I., Brandon Ingram, so I'd just be really disappointed if they just gave up on that and traded him away. And Kyle Lewis Jr. is the new point guard and only got 1 year to show himself, so that just really confused me, and I feel like that's the second loser of this NBA draft. My third team that I have winning in this draft is another team that just had a great prospect slip to him, and that is Denny Avdija in the Washington Wizards. Denny Avdija slipped to number 9, and I feel like he was like the fourth or fifth best prospect on the board. So that's a great value at the ninth pick, and especially it looks even better as John Wall has requested a trade a day or two ago. So now Bradley Beal will be that primary playmaker and that primary ball handler, but Denny Avdija has some point forward skills that I really feel like he can put on for the Washington Wizards and be that secondary ball handler, that playmaker that can get Bradley Beal the ball, stretch the floor a little bit as his 3-point shot has got better, as I've seen during the quarantine at the end of his season, since his season still lasted through a little bit of COVID. And also he's strong and he's a little athletic. Although he's not super fast, he's not slow whatsoever. He has a little athleticism to him, so he can play that 4 or that 3. And I feel like he'll just be a great player alongside Hachimura and Beal and building this little young core alongside Bradley Beal, and hopefully they can make a run so they can keep Bradley Beal around. And because I don't like all these players just going from team to team, I'd like for Bradley Beal to stay and hopefully win in Washington, so that'd be cool. And hopefully Denny Avdija could be a part of that because he's a really talented player, and I'm really excited to see what he can do in the league. With my third and last loser for this NBA draft, I have the Boston Celtics. I don't think the Boston Celtics had that good of a draft. I feel like some of their picks, the two of their picks in the first round were confusing with Aaron Nesmith. I feel like at that Aaron Nesmith spot, they could have used more of a shot creator type of player at that spot, and the perfect player for that would have been Tyrese Maxey. More scoring coming off that bench, and I would have really liked that more than the Aaron Nesmith pick. Although you can never have too much shooting, I just felt like they needed more bench scoring and creation than they did sharpshooting and catch and shoot and things like that, because they have great creators already in the starting lineup, and you can fill them in. You can fill Aaron Nesmith in for like Jaylen Brown or somebody, but that wasn't that big of a need. They have okay shooters off the bench. Olojue is an okay shooter, and they have some other shooters that they could have got in free agency as well. I feel like Tyrese Maxey is a special shot creating player, and I feel like he's really underrated and slipped all the way to 21st, and Philadelphia really got a steal with that player. Also, the Payton Pritchard pick was kind of confusing for me too, because they drafted Carson Edwards and Tremont Waters last year, and I feel like they're kind of in the same mold, same type of size. They obviously have different play styles, but drafting another point guard in the first round again after drafting 2 point guards last year, it just didn't make that much sense to me. So I just thought they didn't have that good of a draft, and I was expecting them to trade up to try to get Onyeka Okongwu. They didn't do that either. So I just feel like they didn't do that much. But I'm glad they didn't trade up and get that player, because they ended up getting Tristan Thompson in free agency and keeping all their assets. But those 2 picks were really just confusing to me, and I feel like they could have done better with those picks. And boy, would Tyrese Maxey would have been good for the Boston Celtics, because they've seen what good shot creation off the bench or starting could do to him, especially that young, flash in the pan, really good scorer off the bench or starting, like Tyler Hero did to them in the playoffs with 37 points. I feel like Tyrese Maxey can bring that same thing to the Philadelphia 76ers next year, and I feel like he would have been a great fit for the Boston Celtics. So I was just kind of disappointed in their draft, and I feel like they could have done better. I feel like the Dallas Mavericks picked very well in the NBA draft, and I feel like they did a pretty good job drafting around Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis for fit. As in their first pick, they picked Josh Green, an athletic 3-and-D player, a great lob threat in transition, and has very good potential to be a decent 3-point shooter, and has potential to be a great perimeter defender and versatile defender at 6'6". Like I said, he's very athletic, and I feel like he can use that to his advantage on the offense and the defensive end. So I feel like that was just a phenomenal pick for the Dallas Mavericks to fit around Luka, and I feel like he can be Tim Hardaway's replacement in the starting lineup in one or 2 years. Also, in the second round, first pick, they picked Tyrell Terry. Tyrell Terry is a great 3-point shooter, like a phenomenal 3-point shooter, and also a decent ball handler and playmaker, and is okay when he has the ball in his hands, and could be a secondary playmaker to Luka Doncic in a couple years if they want to have more ball handling and creation in their starting lineup. But I can also see him coming off the bench a lot and kind of taking that spot from Jalen Brunson, because I think he's a better natural shooter, and that's what you need next to Luka or coming off the bench. And I feel like Jalen Brunson not playing in the bubble really hurt him, because I can't really remember the last time I saw Jalen Brunson play. And now they have this new guy as also a second round pick, but had a little bit more production in college and is way younger than Jalen Brunson. Because you got to remember, Jalen Brunson was a senior when he got drafted out. This kid is a freshman, 19, 18 years old, and has a lot of potential and a lot of room to grow with this Dallas Mavericks team. And I feel like he's just a better natural fit next to Luka because of his shooting ability. Obviously, he's very small and is going to be kind of a defensive liability in his first couple years until he bulks up. But I feel like he's a smart enough and plays hard enough player that he can hold his own on the defensive end. But for at least his rookie season, I feel like he's going to be a liability on that end. But I'm very excited with these 2 picks for the Dallas Mavericks, and they're going to be great additions to the squad, and I feel like we have a chance to go very far in the playoffs this season. Alright guys, that's all I got for you guys today. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe on the video if you haven't already. Had a lot of fun making this video. Pretty good draft content. And I feel like this was a decent draft and not a lot of players really made mistakes. I didn't feel like any of these teams made a catastrophic mistake. I just feel like they may have passed on somebody they may regret in the future, and that happens in any draft. And I feel like a lot of it was based on fit, because I don't feel like there's going to be a lot of teams tanking next season besides the Thunder and a couple other teams. I feel like a lot of teams are going to try to be competitive, and because of that, there was a lot of fit picking, even in the top 10 in the early going, and especially in the late first round. It should definitely be as a fit picking. But all in all, I feel like it was a great draft, a very entertaining draft, and I can't wait to see these rookies in the NBA come in December. So like and subscribe on the video if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time.